agrees with him. To Bishop Hugh Jackson, who doesn't, with either. Bishop, holy cow. I couldn't believe my ears. What'd you think?
Neil, it's preposterous. What happened in New York is not the result of 3 centuries, however many centuries of racial oppression. It's the result of a young man having made the decision to resist arrest. And when you do that, things are not going to end well. It's tragic. It's terrible. But how about teaching these young people, when the police make a request, cooperate with them rather than resisting them?
You know, Bishop, I think an argument can be made that this non-grand jury indictment rattles folks a little bit more because people back and forth can quibble whether the guy had in fact resisted or whatever. I don't even think that matters as much as drawing the centuries remark in and the slavery and the victimhood thing in, because you are then egging people on to say, you know, despite having an African-American in the White House, despite in New York City, his predecessor some couple of decades ago was an African-American, despite all the progress now with 2 new additions, including the first African-American elected senator from the heart of the Confederacy in South Carolina, despite all of that, none of that mattered. Beyond stupid.
Neil, despite having the chief law enforcement officer of the nation be black, the Attorney General of the United States. And Neil, look, I'm 62 years old, probably don't look a day over 61, but I've had 100 or more interactions with police, and I have never had a police officer mistreat me because I don't mistreat them. We've got to start talking about teaching young people how to behave themselves with respect. That doesn't mean that we want people to die or that this is a good thing, but it means there's responsibility on the side of individuals in their interactions with police.
Well, the one thing, I mean, despite their, viewpoints, what have you, I think that those in power are kind of showing their true colors. It's not a black or white thing. It's a very progressive thing. It's a victim thing. It's that you have been really hosed here thing. And I'm wondering if that serves anyone any good, particularly the African American community, where you can make a lump sum generality and just say, yeah, Whitey's still after us.
Neil, these young people need jobs, they need education, they need stable families, they need guidance, they need direction. What they don't need is to be given one more excuse for why they can't make it. Neil, I love this country. This is the most wonderful place in the world to live. We need to start getting that message out to our young people. You can do and be anything you want to be. Charles Payne, your good friend, is an example of that, and I know many, many others who are.
Yeah, Charles Payne is way overrated, no offense and all, but no, actually, Bishop, you're quite right. You know, Bishop, here's what worries me, though. There is a trend and a mentality developing now in the media aftermath of this to see it only through that racist prism. And I'm the first to say, and I'm sure you've dealt with this yourself, trying to grab a cab at night, that you're going to have more of a difficult time than I would. And that's not fair or right, but there is a line between getting offended by that and being violent because of that. And I think that is a message emboldened by federal officials and a New York City mayor who all but say this must stop. We're going to launch federal probes. We're going to right this clear wrong because you idiots on the local level screwed it up, right?
And Neil, how about a white guy trying to make a delivery into a tough black community? Look, life is not perfect and it's not fair, and we want to do everything we can to make things fair. But in the meantime, you got to decide what you're going to do with your life as an individual and then get about the business of doing it rather than blaming racism and Jim Crow. You know, as I've said, Michael Brown is not Emmett Till. Al Sharpton's not Martin Luther King Jr., and these officers are not the KKK. We're living in a different world. It's about time we come to grips with that.
All right, but let me ask you this finally. When the mayor made the centuries in the making remark, and I'm thinking over the centuries, and you're closer to this, Bishop, than I'll ever be, I see improvements along racial lines, and I see all of these officials you referred to who once it seemed inconceivable they could be in power and the jobs they have now. A credit, I think, to our country and where we progressed. But I may be missing something. What do you think?
No, Neil, you're not. And I think what's happened is that emotion trumps truth. and people would much rather live with the sense that they're still under the same oppression that black people lived under 150 years ago. And we need new leadership that will get the message out that, no, our country is free and prosperous, and you can make anything of yourself that you decide to make of yourself. And we just need to encourage young people with that message.
Bishop, thank you very much. I just thought I'd have the bishop on because I was hearing all the coverage one way on this. I mean, just one way. Not right. This isn't right either. You see this? Hands up, don't shoot. Now it's the president of Penn State doing it, and a scene that's been repeated on Capitol Hill by the players of the St. Louis Rams. Now, ironically, it conflicts with grand jury evidence, certainly out of Ferguson, where all the African-American witnesses say it didn't happen, that it never happened, that the victim never did raise his arms, and he was not shot from behind. Now, to be fair, there were a couple of white witnesses who said otherwise, but overwhelmingly the witnesses said it just didn't occur, yet it became fact, and it became just assumed, accepted reality. But it wasn't the reality. And attorney Lisa Giovinazzo says great danger in doing